Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching Boom, the Political Vigilante. Well, we talked about it, happened about 2 weeks ago, the Congress voting in favor of the $768 billion war budget. Man, I'm so glad we don't have Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness, because how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? But upon further review here, let's unpack, because the Congress is controlled by the Democrats, but there's about 100 members in the Progressive Caucus. Oh, they're going to fight for us, right? The Progressive Caucus. So here's a tweet I got from a fan of the show, Stephen Semler. The House just passed. This is from when it happened, December 7th, I think. The House just passed $778 billion Pentagon budget during a pandemic. It's $37 billion higher than last year's military budget, which they passed during the same pandemic. So if you're behind on your rent and you're, whatever economic situation you're having right now, just know that the military got extra money. Did you get extra money? Your unemployment, I know, ran out in September. Maybe your PPP loan didn't get approved, but they got an extra $37 billion. Does it make you feel good about this country? Democrats, yay. 51 nay. 194 Republicans, 19 boys. So just really, there's what's the difference? Only 70 voted against. Like in a 2-1, 2.5-1 Democrats, but still the majority of Democrats and Republicans voted for this. And somebody did this calculation on Twitter. If you took $778 billion divided by 300 million, now that should be 330 million, but it's roughly $2,600 per person. About $2,600 from every taxpayer in a year where 80% of us could really use an extra $2,600. This is what this is. And even if you do 330 million, that still is going to be whatever that's going to be, still 22. It's going to be over $2,000. Couldn't we all use more than $2,000 right now? Could you really use it? Could you barely get by, pay your bills? You want to get out of debt or having a hard time keeping the lights on? Suck it. Not my problem. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We got to give Joe Biden and Kamala Harris more war. And Austin, the first ever black man Secretary of State. Oh, by the way, he was on Raytheon's board of directors. That has nothing to do with this. Stop asking questions. Diversity. So let's find out which Democrats and the more members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus voted for the budget than against it. It was 51-43. So if you voted for an increase in the war budget, you're not a progressive. Okay? You're not a progressive. You can't be a progressive and vote for war. And increase the war budget. The Progressive Caucus should be always voting for less war budget. That's but they're fake. It's a fake caucus. You can't reform the Democratic Party from within. I've said this 1,000 times. Alma Adams, North Carolina, Nanette Berrigan, California, Karen Bass, California, Don Bayer, Lisa Blunt Rochester, Brendan Boyle, Andre Carson, Matt Cartwright, David Saline, Madeline Dean, Rosa DeLauro, Andy Kim, Brenda Lawrence, Teresa Fernandez, Mike Levine, Ted Lieu. That's my district. California's 33rd in Santa Monica. That's Teddy Lieu. That's my boy. He's so progressive that he voted for more money. Like, you could have an extra $2,500 or so in your pocket, but not thanks to my boy Teddy. Boy, the Democrats doing great. See what happens when you don't have a legitimate third party? What if we had 100 People's Party members in Congress? I wonder what that would do for these types of bills. Zoe Lofgren, Kawesi Mfume, Joseph Morell, Grace Napolitano, Mary Newman. All these women, sounds like people, different ethnicities, people of color, all voting for war. I love it. Mark DeSauer, Debbie Dingle, Veronica Escobar, Adriano Espaillat, Dwight Evans, Lois Frankel, Ruben Gallego, Sylvia Garcia, Raul Grijalva, Stephen Horsford, Sheila Jackson Lee, Hakeem Jeffries, Eddie Bernice Johnson, Kai Kahili from Hawaii. Oh, wow. Nice. Danielle Kildee, Jimmy Panetta, Shelley Pingree, Lucille Roybal Allard, Linda Sanchez, Mary Scanlon, Brad Sherman, Adam Smith, Darren Soto, Melanie Stansbury, Loan Trahan, Juan Vargas, Maxine Waters. She's so progressive, Maxine Waters. Again, if you were a huge Clinton supporter, you're not a progressive. Frederica Wilson, John Yarmouth. Oh boy, let's bring Ron Placone on here to talk about this exciting progressive caucus. From Get Your News On with Ron, it's Ron Placone.
Yeah, the only qualification to be part of the Progressive Caucus is you have progressive insurance. That's really all it means. Like they're not.
Or maybe you like have Progresso soup or something. I mean, I think there's a couple of.
There's a couple things that you have to do, and then they just let you in.
I think they probably you have to pass some very strict like tweets testing. Like you have to, your tweets need to be like, we need to fight for this. Yeah. You know, I mean, have you ever seen anything more insane than that? I mean,
well, we will next year. I mean, it keeps getting more and more absurd. And that's what you get when you just have like 40 years of freaking Reaganism on steroids, which is like all we've had for 40 freaking years and counting. Mm-hmm. And it is absurd at this point. Nancy Pelosi just, a week ago was talking about the free market and how they can invest how they want. The quote alternative to the right wing. They're supposed to be the alternative to the right, and they're channeling Ayn Rand. That's your alternative to the right wing, and Ayn Rand. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is a parody of a parody of a parody. I mean, we make the Tories in England look like socialist in comparison, and they're not. They're not. They're terrible in many ways, but compared to what we got, holy shit, Boris Johnson is a Boy Scout in comparison.
Oh, I mean, and they just keep doing this on and I mean, like, you know, listen to Liz Warren blame inflation on like corporations jacking prices up. And I'm not excusing the corporations that have been price gouging during this, but inflation is created by the Federal Reserve. It's created by Janet Yellen and people in charge of it. Like that's who's in charge of this stuff. And they just act like the Democrats always act like it's somebody else's fault. It's unbelievable. Like and then when they're in power, they control Congress. They could say, nope, the budget you guys better come back with a budget that is under $400 billion or we ain't signing it. They could just, boom, done. We're doing that. And they won't. And then the Progressive Caucus, even if every member voted for it or voted against it, right? If every member voted against it, there would still be enough to pass it.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. And, you know, shitty policy is what causes inflation. Mm-hmm. That causes inflation. Shitty policy or like natural disasters, that's what causes inflation. And you can read Stephanie Kelton's book, The Deficit. Wow. Deficit Myth. Wow. I was like, oh, geez.
Did you go to the beer store?
I was going to say, I haven't gone on the beer run yet. Like, I mean, I'm already cut off. Jeez. That was like, yeah, the deficit myth. Stephanie Kelton is going to find my phone number and call me and say, please never plug anything again by me.
The deficit myth.
Please don't even read my stuff. I'm scared it's breaking your brain. I'm scared you can't handle it. The deficit myth. I feel like I got to go read it now.
Well,
my wife is frightened. She's preparing food in the kitchen, and she's just like, "Are you okay? I don't know what to do. Do you want to sub in? Do you want to work on the pies, and I'll do the show?"
Maybe Caitlin should sub in here since we're having since deficit myth is a tongue twister.
I'll put Lucy on the mic. She'll get you through. Seriously though, read that book.
Yes, somebody sent it to me and I haven't read it yet. I'm still finishing JFK and the Unthinkable, but
Because it really does explain inflation and kind of knocks down a lot of the myths that it's like, oh, we
right.
can't possibly fund decent things
Oh,
for society or we'll have blah, 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 blah. Which, by the way, you want another great lesson. First of all, no one ever says where are we going to pay for it when it comes to this obscene war
no.
budget. And you know what else happened recently that is connected to all this and is a fun lesson in whenever someone says we can't afford it, they are full of shit. Not too long ago, Jen Psaki, in her own arrogance, laughed at the idea of having testing available for Americans. Now, a bunch of other countries, they have this. They have testing available everywhere. It is free, or if you have to pay something for an at-home test, it's like a freaking $1. That's going on all over the EU. That's going on in England. Here, we can't figure that out. There's not testing widely available. Tests are like $25 and up. But all of a sudden, Jen Psaki did that. It went viral because of how arrogant and tone deaf she is. And now all of a sudden, tests are going to be available for people. It's still nowhere near enough. It's still like nowhere near enough. But all of a sudden, we just could afford that. When it was a bad PR thing, all of a sudden, like, oh no, we can afford this. Which goes to show you the lesson to be learned here is not, oh, the Biden administration is stepping up. They're doing way too little, way too late in true USA fashion. But it goes to show you whatever they say, we can't afford this. They are full of shit.
Yeah.
We can afford it many times over. We
Of
create
course.
our currency. We are a currency creator. Inflation does not happen without shitty policy. Read the deficit myth that explains all this. And but we choose to use it on war. We choose to use it for these obscene war budgets that are going to set the world on fire for the profits of war profiteers and oil companies.
Yeah.
Because we're an empire. We're a freaking empire. That's why we have a declining quality of life that declines and declines and declines. And it's going to get even worse. We are at feudalism's door. We're going to fucking get there.
Yeah.
And
And
you're
all this money
expected to just
printing.
take this. If you don't accept this, you're not an adult.
And all this money printing that the Federal Reserve has been doing with, as you say, without any good policy behind it. They're not raising interest rates or anything. They're just printing money, and we're going into this inflation, and we're spending all this money on war. The American people, the working class people, have been completely abandoned. This pandemic has only benefited billionaires. I mean, and big corporations and Wall Street. They're the only ones that have benefited from this. And it's just like, so to watch this, the Democrat, I mean, it is still beyond me, the vote any blue will do crowd. But sure enough, look, the Democrats are going to lose control of at least the Senate, if not the House, in 2022. Joe Biden is not going to finish his first term. So Kamala Harris, who has even a lower approval rating than Joe Biden, is going to be president running in 2024. And they're going to put some other CIA asset like goddamn Buttigieg, who is a Navy intelligence officer.
I think that's what they're setting the stage for. They're going to pair those two up and be like, well, do you like them together? Huh? What do you think?
Everyone, I mean, they're not likable. They have horrible approval ratings, but they're banking on, and they will even help make happen, the Republicans will run in 24, either Donald Trump again or somebody worse than him, like a full-on fascist that actually is smart enough to take over a country, like Mattis or DeSantis or some awful person.
And that guy, I mean, wow.
Full-on fascism.
I do think that, at first I thought there's no way Trump runs again because he didn't even want the gig the first time. But now I do think, let's say Biden does make it through, and then because now like they're saying Biden might run again because they realize how grossly unpopular Kamala is. If that does happen, and I don't know, I mean, it's really tough to say. I mean, you never know any given day with that guy. But if Biden does run again, I could picture Trump running again just for his ego's sake, because he wants to be like, I'm going to win in the rematch.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I'm not going to go as far as a prediction because it's tough to say if Biden will in fact run again. But I will say if he does, I think we'll see a Trump-Biden rematch.
Yeah. Whatever it is, the point is like, the Democrats can keep ruining everything like they're doing when they have power, but then they'll just wait till the Republicans put up Trump or some other awful person so they can go, we can't let them win. And you got to vote for us. Vote any blue will do. We got to stop them. Even though it's like you had 4 years, the first 2 of which, just like Obama, you controlled the House and the Senate, and you could have passed law after law after law after law, and you won't do it. And so, like, again, they could have had, we could have met it. We've all talked about this with Joe Biden, because we're in the national emergency, could do Medicare for all, could do student debt forgiveness. Like, all these things could just be handed
with a signature.
He wouldn't even need Congress. Signature. He wouldn't, but he won't do it because they need a foil like Joe Manchin, boy, or whatever. Like, Mitch McConnell keeps gumming up the works. Like, they need,
and all those people are assholes.
Yes, they're assholes. They're awful people.
They are despicable beyond comprehension, but let's not be naive enough to think they're working alone.
Yeah. They're allowed to be despicable. They're even encouraged in certain means to do that. So because they need a bad guy. It's professional wrestling. So,
I disagree slightly, because professional wrestling takes physical skill.
And it has more integrity.
And it has way more integrity.
Yeah. And those guys are good there's amazing athletes. Those men and women who do that. They're amazing athletes. They're not just parasites. They're good athletes. They put on good entertainment. They put their bodies on the line, and these politicians are parasites.
Yeah.
They're parasites. All right, my friend. Well, that's, I'm excited to get all the emails from the Democratic Party next year saying you got to donate to help us stop the blah, blah, blah from winning the bling, blah, bloom.
The cycle repeats, man. And they prey on people. And that's how the apple cart continues for the duopoly. Like Democrats get power, and then this is why our Overton window is so fucked, because people are just like, gee, Obama was there for 8 years. My life got even shittier. I guess progressive policies suck. I'm going to take a chance on this Trump guy. Then shit still doesn't get better. Well, I'll take a chance on this Biden guy again. Then they do nothing yet again. Well, I'll take a chance on whatever the Republicans are selling. Continues. Democrats rely on the viciousness of Republicans. Republicans rely on the uselessness of Democrats. And that's our system. And if you see this as a problem, well, you're the problem.
Folks,
there's nothing wrong here.
Go to Get Your News On with Ron to listen to more of that fantasticness. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood, and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.